Hi everyone, I'm here with the beautiful Sloan and the charming Andre. We're going to share our conscious mind conversation about our lives living as intuitive people and how we've explored the lessons and the experiences of having that gift, but also sometimes can be quite a curse, but not a real curse. But we're just wanting to talk to you today and share our hearts and minds with you, hoping that you may resonate with this information and be able to apply it to yourself. So we're just wanting to give you some insight into behind the scenes of the messages and the sessions that are coming forth. They really have a very strong statement that they're wanting people to apply the information from the sessions. And we feel that it is really important to, rather than just listen to the sessions in the background, almost start taking written notes about what your takeaways are to be able to really process the information. They keep reminding us that there is so much content in the videos and in the sessions, I mean, that while people may have heard all the sessions, no one yet has been able to truly apply all the lessons. And so they're really wanting everyone to sort of go back and really take all of the lessons and the advice and start applying them, because it really is so helpful in many, many, many ways. So, yeah, Sloan, would you like to introduce yourself and talk about your life as an intuitive person?
Yes, thanks, Joe. And hi, everyone. My name is Sloan, and I have been in the group for as yeah, I've been listening just as much as you guys have to Joe's channel and listening to Andre and their work together. I live in Boise, Idaho, in the United States, and I'm I do light language, and I'm really excited to share it with everyone. And a little bit about that, it happened a few years ago, and it just came in, and I really cultivated with it. It was very bizarre. I have been an intuitive, empathic, magical, whatever you want to call it, high vibrational being since I was a child. And so I know everyone here can relate to that. And so I didn't really understand that energy until I was about 27. And so I had gone to actually a lot of therapy in my 20s. And so I did cognitive therapy. And what really opened it up for me was traveling and understanding that my energy, I could trust my energy. I could trust my knowings. I just had twinges, in my body when I knew that when people's intentions for me, and I could also feel other people's intentions. I, like most or a lot of people, I grew up in a really dark home, a lot of negativity and fear, a lot of fear. And so that became kind of my mechanism of holding that in. And so at that age of 27, when I really started opening to doing different types of therapies, tonal therapy, meditation, going within, ceremonies like cacao, coming together, um, you know, doing all this work, it really, it opened me up to that there is another world and we are multidimensional beings. And so doing that daily for me is important. I'm now 35 years old, and listening to the sessions this last year on the peripheral has been amazing because it is. They guided me through it, and I applied it. I applied it daily into my energy work. I work with water and frequencies and allergy elimination techniques. And I'm also a trauma release life coach now at this current time in my life. So, yeah, a lot about it intuition here. So I'll just stop and I'll let Andre go.
Hello, everyone. I don't really know. I don't know God. I'm very impressed by Sloan and all her amazing achievements. Um, I suppose I have I think from very, very the beginning of my life have is where a lot of the sort of what I'd say issues in my life, a lot of the traumas that I've had to overcome, started. I was born into an orphanage in Romania in the late 90s and stayed there for 2 years until I was found by an Irish couple who bent over backwards for about a year to get me out of the children's home. It was a real, and I wasn't very well, and it was a very tricky and a tough start to life. And it started then through my childhood, then of being very sensitive, being very traumatized, but not outwardly traumatized, not very obviously traumatized. But I remember when I look back to my life, um, being very traumatized by everything, really. I had issues with food. I had issues with men because I had never met a man for 2 years. And my adopted father, who is my father, obviously, it was the first man I ever met. And it's really kind of been the sort of trigger starting point for every lesson that I've really sort of had to learn in this life. Every problem that I've uh, chosen to take on in this life, and every circumstance that I've chosen to live in this life has come from stuff from past lives, obviously, but a lot in this life has come from those moments in my childhood. And while I had a great childhood, I was a very sensitive child, and it was only till once I awoke or awakened about 2.5 years ago that I realized what all that stuff I was going through was. So for me, growing up as someone who was very intuitive was very troubling and very difficult for me. And it led me down some really bad paths. And my awakening came from sort of a rock bottom moment and sort of catapulted me into this new way of life. And it's something that has been really, it's sort of, I think like a lot of awakenings, it hits you so hard, it hits you so quickly and thrusts you into having to sort of fend and learn about this whole new aspect of what life really is, which can be really incredible and amazing, but also like truly, truly difficult. I have had really, really dark days where I've just, shouted at the universe and said, why am I here? What the hell is all of this? Um, it's taken me a long time to sort of see the beauty of the world. And still at times I find it difficult, when I'm having a bad time. Um, but throughout the awakening, I've realized um, what am I trying to say? How incredible life actually is once you start opening yourself up to learning, once you start opening yourself up to um, taking lessons, applying them, and seeing them actually shape your outer reality. And I've seen so incredibly how doing the inner work, how adjusting your insides can totally shape and construct your outward reality, which is something that I used to hear a lot. You can manifest by doing this, control your thoughts, this, and that. And never really got it. And it's actually very recently, once I started applying lessons and doing all that inner work, that I've started to see my outward life change. And now I'm at a place throughout all this where I'm looking at my life, feeling very proud of everything that I've accomplished, because I know it has been a manifestation down to all the lessons and all the experiences that I've had in my life that have shown me and shaken me and moved me and forced me into places of growth and learning and being on that path to enlightenment. So that's really sort of me. Now medium. I love doing card readings, though I haven't done a lot of those in a while, but I'd love to get back into that. I love card readings. I'm learning to channel now at the moment, and I've been doing quantum healing sessions as well. So I have just loved every part of that experience, and I've been going on for too long, but that's a little bit about me anyway.
I love that. Thank you both for sharing and being so vulnerable with your experiences, because it's quite liberating to own everything that's happened to you, understanding the purpose and the lessons that they were there to provide for you. And so when we do have that bigger perspective, we actually love all of the challenges because we've overcome them, we have mastered them, and we can move forward knowing that we have all the strength and power, and nothing really is going to break us. Our past always has had the opportunity to break us. So when we take the totality of our lives and see how much we have gone through and thrived, learning the lessons along the way and shaping us into being very compassionate, beautiful, giving beings to humanity who truly want to help everyone the best they can, while still having a healthy balance to maintain their own sanity through connecting to higher conscious experiences and having the bigger perspective. It is so hard being an intuitive person and wanting to deeply connect with people who you see are actively holding on to their blocks, who don't actually want to move forward for various reasons. And it is hard because we want to help them so profoundly, but many people don't want to acknowledge their own blocks and also are quite oblivious to them. So as intuitive people, we do have great compassion for others, and it's kind of like, how do we help people the most? To not trigger anyone, and to always nurture and support people the best that they can at this stage. I have found myself questioning why they keep repeating that we must love ourselves and see others as a reflection of ourselves, and we must constantly be in that unconditional state, and really love everyone profoundly. And I know that's people like, oh, I can do that for my best friends, but maybe not for that person there. We always try and have excuses for why we shouldn't do what they're asking from us. They're not pressurizing us, where they still respect our free will. But the reason why they're wanting us to see everyone and give compassion and love to everyone is because it releases us from judgment. It releases us from feeling like we still have to there's a whole lot there. It's so hard to, and I don't feel like my conscious mind and the words that I use is very helpful. I love all the messages that they give us. It's so profound. They're wanting to help us as much as they can, without giving us all of the experience and the lessons to be able to explore it. They're saying, have all these lessons, have all these, explore all of it. There's no good or bad. But if you feel stuck and you want to know how to get to the next step, they're always providing us with the tools to be able to do that. It's just, we have free will and the choice. Do we apply the information, or do we just think, oh, we'll do that tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes? And so they're really wanting us to take account of the information and take it seriously, because it's not entertainment. It is pure wisdom from higher beings that see exactly where we are at and wanting to help us, because right now humanity needs our vibration to be high. This is our very strong responsibility individually, to be responsible for our own vibrations. And when everyone else is expecting everyone else to do their own inner work, but we'll do it next week or whenever it suits, that is not a team player. And they're wanting everyone to be team players and to be responsible for your duty, for humanity. So not only are you supposed to, control yourself and master through and do your own inner work and then everything else that you need to do around you, it is so incredibly important for you to be able to be accountable and to be able to be the best high vibrational being possible, while of course being triggered along the way. But when we see everything as lessons and experiences, and that this is when you're reminded of the bigger perspective, those smaller things just drop away, and so you shouldn't truly be as triggered as maybe you once were. But each individual has their life path, and you can go directly to being a higher mindset being, or you may want to enjoy a different route that keeps you in exploring and experiencing all the 3D stuff. I feel like I'm judging and I'm not using the right words, so I'm sorry. I know there are some really profound people that are listening to these sessions who know exactly what I'm saying, who have the consistent 5D mindset. And I've been asked in a private message that those people who are naturally in the fifth dimensional mindsets, they are to contact me, because we have some profound sessions to do together as a collective. So I'm really excited about that journey and path. And so those are the people that don't really need support groups, but those are the people that are here for the bigger missions. So I'm really excited for people to connect with me with that. So there's so much excitement happening, because it does feel like it is a very important time. Humanity is in a natural higher state of vibration anyway, because that's what's happening on the earth. The earth is actually expanding her vibrations up. So, you know, this is tremendous times. It's so easy to release any blocks. It's so easy to release any limitations, and it's so easy to grow when you choose to start growing, which is fantastic. Salone and I did a one-on-one session, because I'm finding that it's more beneficial for my time to do one-on-one sessions with clients where I'm channeling directly. It's really interesting for the clients because they directly feel the energy, more so than listening to the sessions. So that's always been quite a surprise, a bonus surprise for the clients to experience that energy when you're asking the higher beings your questions. And so what came out from a private session with Salone is that many people were actually needing to connect in with her, because her light language is powerful keys that will really activate people quite profoundly. So Salone, do you want to, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm just sharing what I experienced, because I was really blown away with what they were telling me and showing me about the light language that you can provide.
Yeah, thank you. It's really interesting because I can feel, see, and a lot of the time smell what they're transmitting. And I can also, I get visuals in my third eye. So it's like a 5-dimensional experience, right? It's the 3D, and that's what they're transmitting. So I'm witnessing it, and then I release it, and I know that the body, the person, however they're receiving it, I mean, we don't even have to be connected to receive something like that, because it is of love. It is pure consciousness. I mean, it's amazing. It took me a while to kind of understand how I could ask my consciousness to go back, but it naturally did it. I just had to be aware of the transmission. And so that separation early on took maybe 6 months, a year to kind of understand. And then I was able to just do it, and then do it for people. And then it became part of like what I would do privately with like energy medicine practitioners. If people wanted to release trauma, because that's what I specialize in, a lot of grief, heart sadness, a lot of ancestral stuff. So the light language it gives me an idea of what the person's going through, but it also gives the person their key codes. Like, it's amazing. I did a light language activation impromptu actually this morning, and the person, I mean, to witness it, and I checked in and out to check out their energy field to feel it and see if it was transmission, and it was just booming. It was booming. It was so cool. And so what you guys will experience it will feel like a twitch, like the body starts moving in a little different way. It's the frequencies that are coming in that are like tuning you through your galactic family. And that's divinity that I don't even really know about. I just trust that it's happening, and it's beautiful, and it's unique in your own aesthetic code. And it feels like a contribution, honestly, to humanity. Like Joe said, I also thought I would be doing some other stuff, but since this has come up, I feel deeply honored and deeply, deeply responsible. Like, in my heart, it makes me feel emotional, to transmit this and to do my inner work. because without my daily putting my inner work first, none of this is possible. And so I take it really seriously. And with all the messages that I learned from listening to the sessions this last year, I mean, it broke me open. I mean, I had to reinvent my own inner work because it felt stale with the energy that I was moving through, with the emotions. You know, I felt at one point deeply more empathic, and that freaked me out to feel other people's emotions. And I remember thinking, you know, and seeing their energy field and hearing things and, you know, just tuning in to who I am on a soul level. Um, Through these sessions and doing the work, you know, I think we all have to get really creative. Like if your meditation's gone stale, try something else. Try a walking meditation. And if you have a facilitator of any kind of energy medicine in your area, use tonal therapy. You know, if you have a massage therapist who is on a, you know, a 5D level, like we got to seek these people out because we have to do the inner work ourselves, but other people facilitate it. And that's what I did. I found so many facilitators. I found shamans. I mean, I found you know, doctors who did um work. I did massage. I did, you know, I've done so much and now I sweat. You guys, that's my ceremony. I sweat every day and I envision like collapsing the old energy, the old DNA in my body, like rinsing out like an old rag, right? So I can absorb what's ever coming in and what's new. So it gives me a lot of purpose with the key codes, but the inner work is serious because we came here. Like, this is why we came. It's happening now. Everything that led up to this was, you know, is a beautiful experience. It's cute. We've had love, we've had trauma, we've had darkness, we've had epiphanies. I mean, that's like our experience, right? And so now we're here and it's like, it's time. You know, it's now. I mean, as my guide I heard earlier, it was like, you go, we go. So that takes action and perseverance. And I mean this, I might sound intense over Zoom, but please trust that like the intensity is because it's happening now. We have to do our inner work because we are responsible for transmuting the energy. Like no one else is going to do this. I think a lot of people with doing soul spiritual work, like we all want to just be like, yeah, everything's groovy and, you know, high vibes. It's like, no, you got to walk into the fire to put out the fire. And the fire is fear of, you know, the what ifs, the I don't trust my emotions anymore. And it's like, we got to go within and trust ourselves. And so I hope I'm not going on too long, you guys. Does anyone want to chime in?
I think
Like the light codes will get you there. I mean, I'm just another modality. What I'm saying is to many tools that you can access. So there's not just one thing, but I'm really grateful to share this modality. And then you guys everyone can continue doing their inner work.
I think you're so bringing up the practitioners who are in the 3D versus 5D. If you have
Yes.
someone doing anything for you and you feel like they're still in fear, you know, they're still in that lower dimension of, you know, fear and worry and all that sort of stuff, you know, they're not really able to do you the best service. And so, yeah, trusting yourself and using your intuition to make sure that the best people are there for you, doing the best service that they can do. I mean, this is why I know that you weren't, you know, really, you were really surprised when the light language came through, but as it turns out, this is truly your gift to humanity very powerfully. And just like I never, ever wanted to, I never thought about being a channeler ever. It was not interest. I was not interested at all. I had so much other things I wanted to do. And then now it's kind of like, well, yeah, this is your duty. This is what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do anything that's not to my best. And I think this is why I see and get disappointed with people who are channeling, and it's mostly the ego and fear and a whole lot of other 3D stuff. And I understand that they are, you know, stepping stones for other people. And I understand and respect that they're, you know, doing the best that they can. But I really like people who have pure integrity and actually don't play with this work as a way to boost followers, to get income, and to, be, super famous. I just think it's really obnoxious. And I know a lot of people that want to do channeling because they think it's going to give them this popularity or whatever. And that's really disrespectful. You actually need to be doing this work to be able to help humanity, full stop. And there's nothing more. And if you put your ego in there, if you're putting other intentions in there, what you think and assume you're going to get out of helping humanity must always be your best focus and your most important. And I think a lot of people have missed that memo without sounding too judgmental. So sorry about that. Also, I just wanted to say about trauma. Many people have not been aware that the trauma actually lays in past lives. And so when you're trying to understand why you're blocked and why you're not able to advance and move forward, and you know your life here, and no one really, not that many, can really scratch into and get back that past trauma from past lifetimes to actually be able to heal that. And so I feel like with your light code activations, it really does, it takes the vastness of all of your lives and just balances that and reformulates that. So it's very powerful. And I feel so sorry for people who are spending thousands of hours, thousands of dollars, trying to scratch out what's actually wrong with them, why they have issues, when it's something that you can't even scratch into from some modernities and some stuff. So anyway, okay, Andre.
Hello, just been sitting back and listening. Yeah, I mean, I feel, in many ways, I feel like I come at it from two angles, and I understand the benefits from my experience. I understand the benefits of learning through trial and error. Spending time in my life not applying lessons, not applying the stuff that I'm being shown, the stuff that I'm being taught, and seeing how it's affecting my life in a negative way. So for things like, instance, meditation, grounding, other spiritual practices that I was taught and wasn't using, and other lessons that I wasn't using. As soon as I started applying lessons, and as soon as I started actually utilizing the tools that I've been given, I saw my life change in a profound way. From realizing, that really your, as I think I said in my little intro piece, how your outer reality totally responds and adjusts to what you're feeling and doing on the inside. So I have for a long time been in that place where people are shaking me and going, Andre, utilize the lessons, put into place what you're being shown and being taught. And I'd have people get really kind of short with me because, I was constantly going back to them for help, and they were saying, I told you this, we've already gone through this in your reading, in your healing, in your this and that. And I wasn't hearing it. I wasn't allowing myself to hear it. So I wasn't putting them into practice, and it, but then yet again, of course, I'm awakening and all these energies are hitting me and my life is falling to pieces. And I'm like, what do I do? And it was actually a pretty recent thing. I think since maybe June, when I lost a friend, a very dear friend of mine who was a mentor to me. All of a sudden I didn't have anyone there to sort of baby me through and to run to every time I felt I had some sort of spiritual problem or even life problem. There was no one there. I mean, I had friends, but I certainly didn't have that mentor figure. So I had to start applying what she had taught me and what I had learned by being in that group that I was in my everyday life. And over a number of months, I started to grow, I started to learn, I started to change. And that's when I met you, Joe, and I started doing the sessions. And then through doing the sessions, you get more insight, and then you start getting all those healings, and then you start dropping more things away, and you start to change and grow and change and grow and change and grow. And then you start to and it's only now where I am sitting on my couch right now in my sitting room that I've seen how I've applied the lessons and how applying those lessons has changed my life and brought me to this place. And so it really was, for me, my experience has been, I had to really sort of be a bit crap at doing everything in order to learn that I need to do everything to see the benefits of it and apply it to my life. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. We've all been there, I think, where we sort of are struggling with why we're not feeling or understanding the bigger stuff, because we all can feel that there is more to life than what we're led to believe. And yeah, it's so easy waiting for other people to help us. And then when you actually realize and it actually dawns on you, oh, what? I've actually been waiting for myself. Whoopsie. Okay, I'll start applying that. And, that's a really fun empowerment moment when you realize you're with yourself all the time and you get to choose, are you going to be a low vibrational being today that's going to really feel all of the dramas around you? Or are you going to be a higher vibrational being that respects and understands everything has a purpose and a lesson and a reason? And when you suddenly see life that way, that it's happening for you to experience rather than to you, and you're just sort of stuck in mud, it's really empowering to know that your spiritual team is begging you, literally begging you to connect with them, because they want to help you so much, because sometimes you just need those little reminders or those little ways to process things, and have a different perspective of things. I know everyone loves to be distracted. You've got to do some your own inner work. Oh, well, look at that friend who's got heaps of inner work to do. Oh, we'll help them. Or, there's so many ways to be distracted, so many. And I'm finding, I'm being contacted by a lot of practitioners who are really struggling because they don't understand why they're not getting all these clients, and they're not getting all these amazing sessions. They're getting these really long, hard sessions that aren't inspiring them, and it's not what they thought this work was going to be at all. And it's kind of like, well, first of all, if you're going to be a practitioner for anything, it's your responsibility to be the best version of you, so you can truly help others. You can't be distracted wanting to help others when you haven't given yourself the own respect and time to honor yourself. And as clients, all clients expect that their practitioners have done their own inner work and not be distracted. But it's a very human, easy thing to do. So, no one's going to do your own inner work for you. And the universe and the world and your guides are so helpful, because when we ignore our problems, they know, and so they will be less subtle with their hints. And every time they give you an opportunity to learn and grow and notice that stuff, and we dismiss it, they'll get louder in many ways. So bless them for loving us so much to help us. Anyone notice that recently?
For sure. Very much, actually. Yes. And there was a particular, I'm not going to go into details, but there was a particular point in my life where things were really not great, and there was like an opportunity for me to put it all behind me and to start afresh. And then when I didn't take that opportunity, it got worse and worse, and a bigger opportunity for me to put it all behind me and move on came, and I didn't take it. And all of a sudden I was kicked so hard up the arse, to the point where my whole life fell apart, like everything. And I was so worried at what I was going to do. And I was given a choice. And so interesting. And I actually think this was the most profound moment of my whole journey. I think maybe the most profound moment of my whole life so far was when I was let's call it rock bottom, and I was sitting in a chair, in not a very good place, and this ding ding, and I wasn't awake at this point. The way I was not aware of any of this really. There's something just appeared in my head and went, "You've got to go back to Ireland. You've got to leave." I was living overseas at the time. And I called my mother and I said, Mom, I have no money. If you can get me on a plane, I'll come home tomorrow. And literally I was on a plane the next day. That evening at home, I had chosen to listen to the message, and I had, without realizing it, listened to my higher self, and started completely afresh, and had to sort of retrain myself and relearn. And then I realized with all the spiritual awakening stuff, had to all learn that and apply that. So that was for me. I hope I haven't overshared, but that was just such a profound example to me of what you've just talked about, Joe, of how they will kick you and kick you and kick you harder and harder and harder until you finally get it. And that's not to put anyone in fear. It's a beautiful thing. And they're never going to let you, like fend for yourself and go off and completely ruin everything. They will help, and they're always there to help, but they'll give you little clues. They'll give you little lessons that you'll, and eventually I feel, whether we realize it or not, you'll learn the lesson. It just might be a little bit harder.
Yes. And of course, as soon as you are surrendering to them to be able to help guide you, gosh, they're so excited, and gosh, things would suddenly appear where you thought that there was no hope. There is suddenly people in your life, there are suddenly opportunities that just literally fall on your lap. It's like they are waiting for you to provide that for you so much that you literally, it's like surreal how fast your life can change for the better as soon as you surrender into it and stop holding what's no longer serving you. And sometimes when people ask for their help and guidance, sometimes they're going to cut dead wood from your life. And sometimes people are holding on to that dead wood because, loyalty or friendships or whatever, like they know the best for you. And so whatever they are providing for you, whether it's a lesson or a blessing, trust that, follow their path, follow their plan that they can see for you to help you. Because it's always about helping you. But sometimes we use our free will to go the long route and to kind of get distracted. And as soon as we want to get back on path, boom, they're there. And so sometimes that does mean friendships that you love and respect dearly don't quite match right now. And so you're on a new path to grow and learn from that. And codependency can be a blessing and a curse. And it's not until you actually see the purpose of that person in your life and what that's truly serving you as and for, can be quite profound. Remembering this is an individual journey, and we have to be in control of our lives and make sure that we're not self-sabotaging for others, and also not having our boundaries pushed to serve other people's demands. It's a big balance, but once it's fine-tuned and once you can see everything exactly how it should be for you, and using your intuition is the most best key. And that is so powerful. I love being able to do that for people in sessions, is to be able to find their good intuition. Like when you're asking your guides, is this, this is a possibility for me. What is your recommendations? Should I go for it? Yes or no? And giving the client two different places in their bodies where they can see the sense, they can sense the yes and the no. If they can't quite tap into what they're wanting to say. So you have that physical response of yes, go for it, or no, be aware of maybe this is, this is a possibility, but it's not your best possibility. Like I love being able to provide that for people so they can feel that, because it's all about advancing people to really hone in and respect your intuition, because so many people, if they've got self-worth problems or have been beaten down with their experiences by other people, their intuition's still working, but you have to honor it and trust it. And so sometimes people can't trust themselves. Some people don't feel like they're worthy to have guidance. So, whatever is applicable for people, that would be the first thing I would want people to really respect and start growing. Because with anything, you're never really going to be perfect with it the first time. It's just, practice, and really allowing yourself the growth and to learn lessons along the way.
Yeah.
I love that, Joe. I think that was beautifully said. It gives me chills. And I love what you said, Andre, about applying the lessons, because I've been at my rock bottom, and I had a few actually. We've all had a few. And it was when I finally surrendered that I could go down with the current. I could be with the flow, and then all these other things came in. And I wanted to mention relationships at this time because I know there is a lot of fear around people about, like, letting go, of certain relationships. I hear a lot, letting go of one relationship. They don't have a lot of, relationship or community, but we forget what a healthy relationship is sometimes, right? So if someone who really can see our light and supports our light, and we don't have to strain to keep the relationship going, sometimes those are really good times to reflect. Is this something I want to keep in my life, to this extent? Because once we let one go, that makes room for another to create. And I say that from a personal experience because that was part of applying the lessons in my life. I really stepped back from a lot of relationships to assess um, the messages in the sessions and how they were telling us, like, to be empathic is important, and to use discernment in your life and to empower yourself through that, because that's self-love. And in my process, when I really hit a wall, it was like, I don't know what else I can do. Sure enough, Joe came in, like with the sessions. So when we let one thing go, the idea of how things I think are supposed to look in our lives when we're doing our inner work, and maybe give it like 5 options, like, I really thought it was gonna my spirituality or my inner work was gonna be like this, but really it looks like this, and I'm not making enough progress, or um I don't want to do it today. I think a lot of the times the lessons come in just the practice of participating, you know
It's
can
so
anyone agree?
it's so important to remind ourselves that every big challenge that we've had in our lives are soul contracts. That we have needed these experiences, we've wanted these experiences. So again, nothing's done to us that we haven't required from a spiritual level, which may sound insane to people when they are still struggling with something huge that's impacted their lives. I get that, I understand that. But again, from that bigger perspective, understanding the lessons that was to come from it. Yes, also, I just wanted to mention a session recently where they were saying about the client that she is actually this very big, beautiful swan. And she's sitting right now in a pond. And people can see that she's this big, beautiful swan, not that she can see herself as that. And the other birds in the pond are jealous and feel really threatened because they are not intended to be a big swan. They are beautiful ducks, but they have this jealousy because they want to be the big swan. So for them to cope with their issues, they're wanting to keep that swan only seeing the swan as she sees herself, which is the ugly duckling kind of thing. It was a really powerful session. It really blew my mind and made me feel really sorry for her, because her support team, the people that she loves around her, can sense and see who she is truly. But because of their own issues, are blocking her from really stepping into her own power. And that is obviously, they've got a lot of work to do with that. But the victim here, but not really the victim, because we're having to learn that the people around us who we think are supporting us are actually holding us down. And so with love, we have to be able to make those boundaries and step aside and be able to still grow into the beautiful swan that we're supposed to be, in that analogy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure most of everybody who's listening right now can think of an experience in their life, multiple experiences in their lives, where they were themselves. They were being, funny, upbeat, lovely, and, and someone in a group or a few people in a group were turned off by their upbeatness, or were turned off by how nice they are. Do you know that, that whole thing, oh, I don't want a nice guy, I want a bad boy, that type of thing. When you show yourself to be this bigger, higher being, and you're offering love, and you're offering joy and upbeatness, and you start to turn people off in a group.
Mm.
And then for me, historically in my life, I would go, oh my God, they all hate me. I'm such a loser because I'm such a dork, you know what I mean? Or like I sing too much, or I skip, or I this and this, And it's only recently that you start to realize, no, they were turned off by your light. Your light affected their spirit because their spirit's not at peace with who they are, and they're not allowing themselves to be vulnerable with you. They're not allowing themselves to open up to you because they're intimidated by you. So what do they do? Just as you say, in the session, Joe, they put you down. They make you feel like you're less of them because that puts them on their own little pedestal right above you. And it's like being a human 101. Like that is what happens consistently, throughout humanity. No one is, it's very rare just to find good people in your life who want to build you up and are proud and happy of your accomplishments. Um, and I've been a victim. I've been a culprit of this before. Where someone, years ago, where someone would get something that I wanted, and I'd be like, ugh, they don't deserve it, or ugh, they can't do that, or I'd be much better, And you got to knock that out of you, because that is such a nasty and negative way to be. Um, and that comes with doing inner work again. Like once you start to fix yourself, you fix your issues, and find the roots of your problems and your traumas, and apply your lessons, you'll start to allow yourself to be happy for other people. You'll start to allow yourself to show love for other people, and to be vulnerable with other people, but also to be yourself around other people unapologetically. um, and skip down the road, or sing a song, or be a bit of a dork or a nerd, and be proud of who you are and love that part of yourself. And then what you'll find is the people that aren't have matched you will fall away, and of course you'll attract people that are like you, and you'll all skip and sing and be nerds together. It's like one of my favorite lessons in life, but one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way. Knowing your self-worth is huge, because as soon as you know your self-worth, you know your intentions for everything. I think a lot of people still pretend that they've got these pure intentions, that they want to help humanity, but really very shallowly, just, scratch behind the surface. They have other agendas and other reasons why they claim to be who they want to be. So, knowing your self-worth and really being the best person you can be, because it comes through. You can't fake with people who are intuitive. Like you have to be so delusional to think that you could fool people at this point with, the vibrations being so rich and flourishing. And I think this is why we, truly passionate, pure-hearted people who are here to help humanity, really relish and get so excited when they see another being who's similar, who resonates similar, because it almost feels like we're, a very rare breed. Because you have to work so hard to get to being where you are. I don't know if I'm making myself very clear without sounding too judgy.
No, I want to add to that, for so long I was looking around like, who's going to do this? Who's going to raise this frequency? Who's going to solve this problem? Who has, some who's going to bring the energy, and I think as empaths and intuitives and everyone listening to this, it's like, I'm going to say it, it's you, right? It's you, Andre. That's your calling, because you are that bright, you are that light that those kids and were just totally scared of, because your energy was so strong. And you too, Joe, like your energy is so strong, being an intuitive kid, like we all were, and we got that look in people's eyes, like, holy, like, what is going on with them, and so we internalize that as, there must be something wrong with me, and why do I have so much energy when others would rather, cower over here? So we learn to cower, right? We make ourselves small. But like as adults, even, it's even harder to come out of that and do the inner work, because we got to look around and it's like, oh, it's us.
Mm.
We're the ones. This is our job. And then when you realize, I think what you're saying, Joe, about the self-worth is you go, I'm okay. I'll take that role. I can do that. But it's that dance, right? It's that shuffle between accepting in a cheesy way your destiny as a light worker, as an intuitive empath, whatever you want to call it, you know?
Mm. I definitely can resonate with that, because I was literally waiting for other people to share the work that I was getting, and so I was kind of like respecting, people who'd been doing this work for much longer, and, really honoring them and waiting patiently for them to provide that information, and being really confused and doubting the information I was getting because it wasn't resonating or matching what they were saying. And it took me a long time, because I actually was then starting to use these sessions and ask, why is this not unfolding? Why are we not getting the same information? And then realizing, a 3D person practitioner versus, something else. And it all made sense. There was no judgment, but I was like, I've been waiting so long. And I wanted to be told how to process things and how to see stuff. And I didn't realize I actually had to put in all of this work myself to get it. And I would have so happily waited for other people, to do that and to provide that for me. So, yeah, thank you for now making me see,
Yeah.
reliving.
Yeah, like you're looking around like, who's going to post this information? And it's you. You're the front runner. You are. It's your heart.
But it's so strange, because I didn't have that, little girl dreams and aspirations. And I'll tell you, that just popped into my mind, which is so off topic, but in New Zealand, we play this game. It was in primary school. We have elastics. So you have this big band of elastic, and you would use your legs and your arms to have different levels of height with the elastics. And you'd have to do little jumps and stuff. And now I'm really short, and my friends were basically giants. And so, when we have our lunchtime breaks and stuff, they'd always start playing. And I really wanted to play with my friends because it was the coolest thing to do. And, they were totally Joe, short stuff, you would never, I was not seen as a threat because they were so tall. And so I played the game, I did my tune holding the elastics and stuff. And because I knew that they were so tall, I'd have to put in everything, and I was so focused to be able to keep up with them and with their heights that I did really well. I was really surprised how much determination I actually could keep up with them. And then on the flip side, they were not very flexible, and the tall people, they were really sort of it was really challenging for them. And because they'd assumed I was just this nothing, they were really taken back why they were not succeeding. And then I did not know this until years and years and years later at varsity, but I was not invited to the group. And I kept asking and wanting, because I had so much fun connecting with them, and they're like, oh, we've already got 4 people. And so I kind of honored that, but I felt like it was a rejection for me because probably wasn't good enough, and I never saw the actual results of how far I was getting in those levels. I just totally took on their rejection, feeling and I totally never played it again, because I just sort of felt like, my friends didn't see I was valuable and worthy. And so that's what I put on myself. And it wasn't until re-seeing a friend later and them saying, oh God, we used to hate it when you wanted to come because you were so fucking good. And I was like, excuse me? No, that's not the reason why. I was like, oh, you're trying to make entertainment now. No, I was totally uncool. My family really poor. I didn't have really good clothes. I was totally trying to convince her why I was rejected. And I could never hear her say, well, because you could, you're really flexible and you could do the splits, and, you're a piece of, you were making us feel really bad about ourselves because we were not. And I never got that. I never saw that until much, much later on. So now I'm inspired. I might get some elastic out and play with my children. Oh, weird. Okay, sorry.
I love that story because one can relate. Our light shines so bright and it really dims it for other people, and we see that look in their eye, and it's it's what it's what drives me to keep going sometimes, is to know that if I'm like freaking some people out, like it really does, you guys. It's like it's blowing some minds, or people are like, whoa, that's a lot of information. Like, I know I'm going in the right direction, right? Because if they're not ready to receive it, then you go somewhere else now. And I feel like we all have those stories, Joe. I just love that. I love it.
I wish she is. Very silly. But yeah, I just really had to remind myself of what I was so certain was the reason why I wasn't included, and then having to convince them later when they're trying to tell me otherwise, it still really, it didn't resonate with me because I had so convinced myself of the reasons why I wasn't worthy of playing with them. I wanted to say, when we were doing your private session, Sloan, they kept saying that your light language is so profound that they have to keep listening to it many times. But it's not going to be this instant, oh my gosh, that's life-changing. Like, they really are going to have to keep listening to it to apply it. But it's still going to be super profound. But it's so subtle but super profound that they're not actually going to link that healing, that tremendous unlocking the door, and how that's going to unlock so much more for them. Are you able to better word that for me? Because I'm like all stumbling over my words now.
So yeah, for what they expressed and let's go down that road. So what's happening is it's an activation, and this is going to go like, it's best to be listened to in your earbuds. So after you have a session, if you choose to have a session, you want to listen to it just throughout the day, at least one time a day, but it needs repetition. Just like anything, it's like toning a muscle, right? You don't go to the gym and do like some crunches or, leg day, just like once every blue moon. You do it regularly and on a certain time. So what they're saying is set an alarm, set a schedule. You can listen to it through earbuds. You can actually listen to it also by putting your phone, having your skin can resonate with it, which is interesting. So it will be adapted into your body, but it's very important to just release into it. Don't focus too much on the noises, the sounds. Release into it. So focus your breathing and just really enjoy it, and just let it be a part of your day. It's easy. Like, this is the easy part. There's no work here. We just, you just receive it and then you breathe. And it's that beautiful and that easy.
Yeah, it seems like they're saying to me now that it is really fast. So just a few days listening to it, you will see and feel something quite different, like a big release. And it is very powerful. And I don't want to endorse anyone or anything that I don't 100% believe in and feel. And when I felt this purity with your intentions, Sloan, as an amazing human being that you are, and then connecting in with the one-on-one, and then them showing me how powerful this is, really has really blown me away. Because apart from sessions that I can do for people, this is something else that's and they showed me it's a beautiful companion piece. So obviously this isn't a hard sale or anything like that. This is just me sharing my intrigue with this, because I have to say, I did see some light language from people that I was like, my intuitiveness was like, oh my goodness, this is not genuine. This is not honoring the work. This is really ego. And maybe I was distracted with the big boobs that they were trying to also show to like entertain us with. I'm not too sure, but I was not sold on the integrity of that person trying to do something that wasn't resonating. And I kind of thought, what a shame, because even if they did have a true connection to be able to give light language, they're really putting off a lot of people with that presentation. Sorry for boob lovers, but you know, like it really put me off. And I obviously want to get as much insight and profound wisdom and connections as possible. So
Yeah. And, I didn't even actually Google light language until the day of our session because I didn't really know it was out there. So how I knew it was light language was I was speaking with a shaman and I sat in ceremony for a few nights in a row and I started using my light language. And you should have seen their face. I mean, they were just like, what? I mean, this, because I'm obviously white and I'm pretty pale. They could not, they were blown away. And so the next day, he sat down with me and he said, this is your channel of light language. This is a big responsibility.
yeah,
You take this responsibly seriously. And then, I sat with her a few times and I worked through a little bit of a mentorship. So it's serious stuff. It's not just, it's yeah.
Yeah, it's not entertainment, and I feel like your integrity and the quality of the information is so pure. And it wasn't until we did that session together when I was connected with them, and when you were like, oh, I'm just gonna do some light language and you can translate it, and my conscious mind was like, good luck with that. But it did. As soon as you started, I just released this. It was so powerful. I couldn't do anything but cry. And it was just so immense, the love, like we are truly all unconditional loving beings in our natural state. And we always try to get to that point again. And this is, the experience of life is to try and really, attune ourselves back to being unconditional loving beings. And oh my gosh, it blew me away while being connected to them, what they were translating. And it was like, I couldn't even formulate it in words. I had to really grasp and control and shut down the emotions of it to be able to speak. And I felt that was so profound. And I work in this higher energy daily, and I have been for I feel like over a year now of this this really advanced being connection, which I really love and appreciate all of the wisdom that they provide for us. But my energy levels that I can hold, I feel like has grown too. And so for me to physically feel that impact was amazing. I loved it so much. And the message that they had provided for humanity was just a beautiful gift once again.
I'm just so excited and grateful that we get to collaborate. So thank you to them for sending you to me.
Yeah. Well, I think they're just wanting good integrity and good practitioners to help humanity at this time, because I think a lot of people are getting distracted with people with other agendas.
Yeah.
Any final last messages you want to share?
I'll just say that yeah, how would I say it? A sort of that, this is a tricky time on the planet right now. There's a lot of emotions going around. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of energy. I've noticed a lot of energy hitting me, bringing up stuff I thought I had released, and I'm, releasing it again, or releasing it, more of it or whatever. So my biggest thing that I say to all my friends that I just keep relaying and relaying and relaying is to not be hard on yourselves when you're having your down days, when you're having your wobbles, when you're having your moments when you're releasing, because I often in the past have gotten very hard on myself for not being always perfect. And being high vibrational, what we're talking about is not being like, oh, love and light and beauty all the time. It is going through your shit. It is going through your ups and your downs and releasing and letting go. But understanding that is part of the process, and part of your growth, and part of releasing what doesn't serve you is a huge part of your inner work. but it's having that bigger mindset is super important, to know why it's happening and to be able to sort of process it in a kind of healthier way. I feel, I hope that's making sense to everyone. I just for me, I've seen the benefit of, first of all, allowing myself to release, allowing myself to have a bad day where I'm not the best person, but also then not holding on to guilt or feeling ashamed or being hard on myself for having those moments or those reactions or those, ups and downs. Is my number one tip for anyone who's looking to take on a tip, is what I would say.
Absolutely. And I know when they're talking to us, they're kind of, saying the most idealistic place to be, but they're not saying skip over everything, emotionally as well. And I think a lot of people feel like, it's also idealistic to be unconditional loving beings all the time. That's high vibration, or how the heck can I do that? And sometimes people feel like, I've just been triggered. I'm feeling this. I'm processing it. Shit, I'm not high vibrational anymore, and so people sort of judge themselves. But this is a beautiful lesson and a journey, and you're supposed to experience it profoundly and not skip over it. And so there is a lot of working pieces here. But absolutely, going and having doubt on ourselves, judging ourselves, feeling like we're not perfect, this is really, that will naturally lower our vibration. So keep trusting that you're working on being these bigger beings that we're very capable of being. And it's so much easier in that frame of mind. It's so much easier. And, it's only because we have gone through so much that we can see how easy it is to have that bigger perspective. But it's taking a toll. And of course, there are still things that come up. We're still very human. I mean, we're not supposed to judge ourselves for being human, and mastering all these lower emotions is very, very important.
Yeah, but also as well, remembering, I think this is often forgotten, that, there's vibration and there's also alignment as well. So I feel like right now I'm aligned in a really good place. I'm aligned with where I'm supposed to be at this time. That's based on the guidance from the sessions and a lot of the angel numbers I'm seeing, and a lot of the good things that are now happening to me. Is I feel like I'm at a good alignment. But yesterday I had a really low vibration. I was not happy. I was screaming at the universe. I was really upset. And I had that release in our group, Joe, where I started to cry and release, and that was a real shock to me. I wasn't vibrating highly. I was at a low vibration, but I still was at that amazing alignment. So once I'd released all that, I got back to my life and where I was at that alignment, and nothing had changed. Is that what I'm saying? Or do you understand what I'm saying? I feel like I feel like when they say vibration, I feel like they're talking about not just vibration, but alignment as well. Like, because your vibration wobbles, it goes up and down depending on how you're feeling in that day. But it's about having that, when you have the bigger mindset, you align with a different vibration, and you come back to it really quickly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're in a bigger mindset, so you can see everything has a purpose and a lesson. So when a trigger comes in, you can be able to observe it, but not feel it and get like, really despair and start, letting the emotions and the mind overreact to everything. And so you're more observing what's happening to you. It's almost like it's like an outside of body experience where you're like, last time I really freaked out and I really went into this funk. I'm just observing how it's all unfolding now. I'm not letting myself get triggered emotionally. I am, but it's still important to go through those emotions if you haven't experienced that sort of situation before. It's so challenging. Like right now, I'm about to tell you exactly what's happening, but this is not, it's not private session time. But everything has a purpose and a message and a lesson. And understanding that vibration. It's not like, I'm high vibing because I'm happy and I'm low vibrating because I'm sad. That's not really the measure of it either. So it is hard when people are trying to like ascertain what does it mean to be high vibrational versus other stuff. So maybe it is a good reason. Maybe it's a good message for me to ask them to have some basic information shared with us about these terms, so we can understand it more profoundly than just trying to nod and accept what they're trying to help us with.
Yeah.
Mm.
Some like spiritual 101 direct from the horse's
Yes. I love it. That's beautifully said. You know, on some days, I just try to identify with a word what the emotion is that I'm going through. And if I do have the luxury of time to go through it, you know, to get to the root, that's always really helpful. But we're human, and I've had a few really bad days this last week. Integrating, they're not bad days; they're just integration. And so I imagine, you know, my energy, like if I'm, I guess the car analogy, like I'm a stick shift, right? Like some days are gonna be one, you know, I'm gonna be in first and second gear. You know, when we're processing and we're doing all this work right now, and especially like what consciously is going on the planet, you know, all the story, politics, and the charade that's happening, like it's okay to be 1, 2, you know, I allow myself to be in those 2 gears, and it gives me that, freedom of feeling to be able to imagine and put my creativity on it. And then some days I feel like amazing and everything is connective, and I feel like I'm just in flow with life and, you know, all that stuff. So that's a 4 or 5. I shift into 4 or 5 on cruise control. But, you know, you guys said it beautifully. We're human.
It is such an important statement, because a lot of people think they're going to do sessions, they're going to do this, they're going to do healing, they're going to do whatever. And the reaction and the results from that is actually detoxing time. You know, you're actually having to purge some of the physical stuff, you're having to purge the emotional stuff. So while it was fantastic, you have stepped up to the mark, you're going to now honor yourself and take the responsibility of you starting to do that inner work. When you have those healings, you actually need to have some downtime. Think of it as like massive surgery. You know, you wouldn't expect to be like, woohoo, I'm so high-fiving and so happy after that massive surgery. You're like, no. You're going to take some downtime. You're going to just nurture your body and expect that you're vulnerable. You're going to have to grow back some skin emotionally. You're going to have to realign some feelings, you know, whatever. But because this work seems invisible, you don't understand, well, not you, but, you know, people don't sort of understand the power of those healings and how much you have to process it. Especially, I find this a lot with clients who have heavy metals removed from their bodies, because it doesn't just disappear. It then is released into your system. So your system has to physically process that. Your subconscious will do exactly what you can cope with. And some days my clients are like, oh my God, what is happening to me? I feel like I have this massive hangover of sorts, but not hangover with alcohol, but something else. And they're sort of like, oh my gosh, like this is really bad. Like, oh, did a negative entity enter me? You know, they get into instant fear. And it's sort of like, no, this is detoxing at a profound level and right. And you know, you need to go through that. Really, it's like pulling off a band-aid. You know, it's going to really hurt during it, but you're going to feel so much better afterwards. So, you know, this is partly why I think a lot of people are demotivated and not interested to actually take responsibility of their own inner work, because they realize it's work. You can't make anyone do anything. But knowing that when you go to the gym and you do a full workout, that's strengthening so much. The next day, you're going to be a little bit sensitive, but you still want to go back and strengthen that. And a lot of people who assume that they go to the gym, do 5 push-ups, you should have, you know, the perfect summer body. You know, your assumptions may not actually be in alignment.
Exactly, Joe. And I think this is when having like our 3D life comes in handy, right? Like after our session, I was detoxing so much. Like, I mean, I didn't smell good. Like it was just like, oh no, is this inappropriate? But like I had, you know, I got to be with my clients and work and give energy and, you know, be that while I was detoxing. So it's like we get to do this stuff and still be a part of life. Like we don't have to separate the two. I think that's just what I'm trying to say. Like we can detox and do all this inner work and do your one-on-one sessions and, you know, channeling. And I mean, how do you feel about that, Andre?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you sort of saying that, you know, we can do our work whilst we're healing ourselves?
Yeah, like we can really live in both worlds. Because
Yeah.
I know that you work and you do a lot of work at work, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh God, yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, I've got a very active job with the public, and it requires a lot of absorbing energy, and then of course doing this. It's sort of like feel like I'm Batman in a way. I do my day job, and then at nighttime I turn into boy, you know,
So
or
cool.
spirit boy or whatever, and I have to, and I do that, and at times it gets really overwhelming, and there have been times where I've just said I cannot do any of this anymore. I need to just sit down, get a Domino's pizza, and watch RuPaul's Drag Race until I'm dead. Where I do have weeks where I take a total break from spirituality because it's too overwhelming for me to compete with my day job as well, and that's super important. I have to have really strong boundaries with myself, and with the people around me, and hope that they all understand, because there are times, and there are also times where I want to devote myself more to my spiritual life, even though it's all integrated. I want to devote myself more to my spiritual life and say to my business partners, hey, look, I need some time off. I cannot be doing this. I need time to myself so I can go meditate in the meadow and, listen to rainwater and all that stuff, and then there are times where I'm in perfect balance and I'm just like flawless, like killing one job, killing the next, like doing this, going to bed happy, So I think I listen very carefully to what my body and what my spirit is telling me, and I act accordingly, with no apologies. And that to me is a really important tip or lesson, I guess, that I've learned. So I'm plugging my Mac because it's about to go off. There we go. And yes, so that's it. Listening as well to your body, listen to your spiritual body. Like just Joe said, like when you get a healing, allow yourself to heal, allow yourself to take time off and to integrate it and to process it. And then when you're able, get right back up there and go kill it.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. It's so easy to say these words, right? But as we know, actually living through them and processing them, it's not a hobby. Like it's not just something I do on the weekend or a summer or whatever. Like it really is a daily routine ritual that we need to be mindful of and be responsible for. So I can understand why a lot of people are like, no, that feels too hard. But the benefits of it is so amazing. To have a strong connection to your spiritual team is priceless, and it is so rewarding for so many reasons to have these connections, to do this inner work and really profoundly be responsible.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Sloan, is there any final messages?
No, that was beautiful.
Okay. Well, thank you for everyone for using your time and listening to this. We hope that there was something that you could apply and resonate with. And we're just still 3 people who love humanity and are working through this. So obviously we're not all perfect, but we want to be perfect for ourselves, and we want to be perfect to be able to help others, and whatever perfect means. So you're not trying to put labels on things, but just trying to keep ourselves real and honor our integrity and our work and what we've achieved. What we have achieved. So thank you very much, everyone, and I'll post details to connect with all of us in the comments, the description. So take care, everyone.
Bye. Nice to talk to you all.
Bye, everyone.
You guys.